All right, we're going to do example 4. It's kind of a beast, so I needed more space to write. So we're going to be having fun with this one. So we have two posts. One is 12 feet high and the other is 28 feet high, and they are 30 feet apart. And they're going to be stayed by two wires attached to a single stake running from ground level to the top of each post. We want to know where should the stake be placed to use the least amount of wire. Let's start drawing this. So we've got this 12-foot post here. I should probably make that a little bit shorter. Okay. And then there's a 28-foot post over here. And these two things are 30 feet apart. Now we're going to have this wire on each and a single stake. Now we don't know where the stake's going to be. I'm just going to put it there. And then we'll have this wire that runs, well, it will probably be a straight wire. That was terrible. Okay, so we're going to have a wire down to that and then a wire up to this one. Okay, so that's what the picture looks like. We want to know where should the stake be placed. So I'm just going to call this X, and that's going to give us our distance. That's what we're trying to find is X. Now, since this entire section is 30, this part over here is 30 minus X. Okay. So this is our situation. And then we also have this wire. I'm just going to call these Y and Z. So our primary equation, we are trying to use the least amount of wire. And our wire is Y plus Z. Now, that's two separate variables. We don't want Y and Z. We probably want these in terms of X. So let's take a look at our secondary equation. So for our secondary equation, we can check out this triangle over here. It's a right triangle, so we can use Pythagorean theorem. We have x squared plus 12 squared equals y squared. So y is going to be the square root of x squared plus 144. Now, we can take a look at this other triangle here. So we have two secondary equations, and that's going to be 30 minus x squared plus 28 squared equals z squared. So I am going to go ahead and expand that out. So we get 900 minus 60x plus x squared plus, I don't know what 28 squared is off the top of my head. I have a calculator, hang on. 28 squared is 784. So z is going to be the square root of x squared minus 60x plus 1684. Okay, so I actually have two secondary equations that are going to get plugged in. So that makes my primary equation. W is the square root of x squared plus 144 plus, and then z is the square root of x squared minus 60x plus 1684. Okay, so that is the primary equation that I now need to take the derivative of. Okay, and I told you I needed more space, so let's get a clean piece of paper and start working on this. Okay, so again, we had the square root of x squared plus 144, which I'm going to rewrite as to the 1/2 power so I can take the derivative of it, plus the square root of x squared minus 60x plus 1684. No, yeah, 1684, yep. Okay, we're going to take the derivative of this. Now, when we were doing the distance formula one, I told you that you could ignore the square roots. We can't do that because of that plus sign, so we're going to have to leave them in here. All right, so derivative of this, we're going to bring the 1/2 down, x squared plus 144 to the negative 1/2. And then this is a chain rule, so we're going to multiply this by 2x. I'm going to go ahead and finish cleaning this up. So the 1/2 and 2x are going to cancel, so we get x over the square root of x squared plus 144. All right, now it's time for the derivative of the next one. Bring the 1/2 down. X squared minus 60x plus 1684 to the negative 1/2. We have another chain rule, so 2x minus 60. And I'm going to go ahead and do 1/2 of the stuff that's in here. So that gives me x minus 30 over the square root of x squared minus 60x plus 1684. And we're setting that equal to 0. So now, well, let's move one of these to the other side. Doesn't really matter which one. So we have negative x over the square root of x squared plus 144 equals x minus 30 square root of x squared minus 60x plus 1684. And now I'm going to basically cross multiply. Okay, this is a proportion. I'm going to cross multiply. I'm going to go ahead and start this on a new piece of paper, but that's what's happening here, cross multiplying. All right, so this gives me negative x times the square root of x squared minus 60x plus 1684 equals x minus 30 square root of x squared plus 144. Now I need to get rid of all of those square roots. So to do that, we are going to square both sides. So you square this side and you square this side. So the square happens to both those things and it happens to both those things. So negative x squared is just going to be x squared. And then the square root and the square cancel. And then over here we have x minus 30 squared, which we are going to have to FOIL. And then the square root and the square cancels there. Okay, so let's start distributing. We have x to the 4th minus 60x cubed plus 1684x squared. On this side, I'm first going to have to FOIL that. So x squared minus 60x plus 900. And then x squared plus 144. All right, and now on the right-hand side, I'm going to have to keep multiplying that out. It's a big disaster, but we can do it. X to the 4th plus 144x squared minus 60x cubed minus, I have no idea what 144 times 60 is. 8640x plus 900x squared plus 900 times 144. 129600. Okay, the last thing that we're going to do is get everything on the same side of the equation. Notice that you have x to the 4th on each side, so those are going to cancel, and so is this. So now we need to get everything on the same side of the equation. It does not really matter which way we go. I'm going to come over to the left side of the equation. So we end up with 640x squared plus 8640x minus 129600 equals 0. All right, we still need to solve that. This is actually factorable. I'm not going to suffer you that. You just use the quadratic formula, okay? I'm not going to show all the steps here because that takes forever. But when you do the quadratic formula, you end up with x equals 9 and x equals negative 22.5. Now, if you can possibly remember, x is supposed to be the distance. This is like a y or something. So it doesn't make any sense for it to be negative. X equals 9 is our answer. And if you go back and look at the picture that we started with, that's where we should place the stake. We should place it 9 feet from the 12-foot pole.